Shalom, this is Rob Van Hoff. This video is going to cover the vocab for Chapter 9 of Bill Mounce, Basics of Biblical Greek. This is from the 4th edition, and we're looking at the Accordance, the digital version in Accordance Bible software. So if you have your book, we can go through these. As always, it's alphabetical, but this chapter introduces adjectives. Up to now, we've done mostly nouns, so we're looking at a different kind of entry. And the entry has three elements: the masculine singular in the nominative, then you have the dash with the feminine ending, and then the dash with the neuter. So whereas with a noun, the three elements are the masculine singular in the nominative, then the genitive singular ending, and then the definite article without a dash. The adjective gives us a new template for a new style of dictionary entry. So here we go. Our first word here is agathos, and then with the eta it would be agathe, and with the neuter agathon. Agathos, agathe, agathon. And it means good or useful. In the 102, Mounce reminds us it occurs 102 times. Next is agapetos. Agapetos. This is also an adjective. Agapete and agapeton. Here's our neuter down here. Agapetos, agapete, and agapeton. It means beloved. You can kind of hear the agape here. It's from the same root as the word love. The next adjective, hagios. Hagios, the feminine, hagia. Actually, hagia, I should correct myself there, the accent's on the iota. Hagia and hagion. So hagios, hagia, hagion. It means holy. And in the plural noun, like hagioi, is a substantive adjective. So it means holy ones, like kedoshim in Hebrew means saints. Next is ionios, ionios, and then ionion. This is what we call, I think this is our first example of a 2-2 adjective, meaning we're only given two elements. And the first one covers both male and female, masculine and feminine genders. So ionios would cover a noun, whether it's masculine or feminine, and then we would use the neuter, ionion, if it is a neuter noun that it's modifying. Next we have allelon. Allelon. Now, normally our dictionary entries are nominative singular, but here the lexical form is genitive plural because it never occurs in the nominative or in the singular. One another. It's like a reflexive pronoun. One another. Apokrithe. Now, this is a verb that we'll learn later, but here we learned this one form, apokrithe, he, she, it answered. It's a very common form. It occurs 82 times this way. And so with, you can see here with autos in the dative singular, it means answered him. So apokrithe auto means he, she, or it answered him. And so on and so forth. Okay, we'll get examples of that in our exercises. Next, we have doulos, doulos, and this is a noun. Notice here's our genitive singular, doulou, doulou, and then definite article ho, which means the. It means slave or servant, and 126 occurrences. You see the root here is doulo. Oops, doulo right here. Now we have a particle meaning if or when, aeon, aeon, 349 times. Aeon. We'll learn more about that, particularly when we deal with verbs. We'll see the function of this particle. Next, we have an adjective that means mine or my. Emos would be masculine, eme, feminine, emon, neuter. So if I was going to say my word, I could say ha emos logos. So emos has to match logos, right? My word. ha emos logos. But if I was going to say my writing, I would say he eme graphe. So it's not about the gender of the one who's speaking or whose ownership is reflected here. Rather, it just has to, as an adjective, it has to match the gender and number and case of the noun it's modifying. So if it's ergon, for example, work, in the neuter, I want to say my work, I would say ta emon ergon. So that's how that works, and we'll get some practice on that also. Next, we have entole. Entole. Notice the accents at the last syllable there. Entole, this translates the Hebrew mitzvah, commandment. The genitive here, entoles, would be of a commandment. And then here's our definite article, he. So it's a feminine first declension noun. He entole means ha mitzvah, the commandment or the command. Next we have kathos. Kathos, it just means as or even as or just as, something like that. Next we have a adjective. We saw agathos above, good. Here we have evil. Kakos in the masculine, kake in the feminine, and kakon in the neuter. Here we have an entry that's a genitive singular, mu, and it's by form emu, meaning my. So this is genitive singular of ego, and we'll learn that down the line. But unlike emos, mu only means my in the genitive. So we get into this in future chapters. But mu is another way of saying mine, of me. Next we have an adjective, nekros, nekra, nekron. Nekros, nekra, nekron. It means dead. And just like we did with hagios in the plural, hagioi would mean like saints. It's a substantival adjective. Same thing here. Nekroi or nekros can mean, it mean dead body, right? Even though you don't have the word body there, it can be implied through what we call the substantival function of an adjective. Next, we have an important word, pistos, piste, piston. Means faithful or trusting or believing. Pistos, piste, piston. And the endings here, that's our masculine. Here's our feminine. Here's our neuter. Pistos, piste, piston. So if I want to say the faithful word, I would say ha pistos logos. Ha pistos logos, that would be first attributive position. Or I could say ho logos, ho pistos, the word, the faithful. And it would still translate to the same, the faithful word. If I want to say the faithful writing, I could say he piste graphe. He piste graphe. That would be first attributive position. Or I could do the doubling of the definite article. I would say he graphe, he piste. He graphe, he piste. If I wanted to say the faithful work, I would use the neuter. I would say to piston ergon. That would be first attributive. Or I could do to ergon, to piston. The work, the faithful. That's, or trusted, something like that. All right, continuing on here, we had kakos, kaka, and kakon above. Here we have poneros, ponera, poneron. This is another word for evil or bad. Poneros, ponera, poneron. So the evil deed, remember deed is ergon. I would use the neuter. I could say ta poneron ergon. Ta poneron ergon, the evil deed. Or again, second attributive, what would it be? Ta ergon, ta poneron, right? The deed, the evil. Again, I'm just repeating all that just as a reminder that with an adjective, the form that we use has to match in gender, in number, and in case the noun that this adjective is modifying. Another one, we have protos, prote, proton. protos, masculine, prote, feminine, proton, neuter. And finally, third, it's an adjective, tritos, trite, triton. Tritos, trite, triton means third. Now, these numbers are real encouraging. So remember that if you just started counting words in the New Testament, there's almost 140,000. Up through chapter 9 in Mounce's Basics of Biblical Greek, we've learned 88 vocabulary words so far. And if you multiply those out times how many occurrences they are, we're at over 74,000 occurrences, which makes over 50% of the word count in the entire New Testament. It's 53.6%. What that means is if you just opened up a Greek New Testament and you started reading, you would be able to identify, on average, over 1 out of every 2 words. Now, granted, a lot of those will be a definite article, little particles, prepositions, little things that we've learned, but that's a major gain. So I hope that's an encouragement to you. All right, everybody, keep working on your Greek. As I say, you got to dig the ditches in your brain. That's things that no one else can do for you, is that hard work. But use writing, reading aloud, use different colors, use flashcards if that's helpful. Lots of repetition, and be sure to celebrate these kind of moments when you have a good victory and you see some progress. That's really important as well. All right, until next time, shalom.